Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Beatty, President of the Rotary Club of Pine Bluff. This is an official joint meeting of the Rotary Club of Pine Bluff, Rotary Club of West Pine Bluff, and United Way of Southeast Arkansas. Our invocation, pledge, and remembrance of 9/11 will be led by Jim Bacon.
Lord God, we come today humbly repenting and seeking your guidance and forgiveness. As we observe this 11th anniversary of the horrible attacks on our nation on September 11th, 2001, we are reminded of your mercy and your love and grace that enabled us to survive and to push forward. We ask your blessings on all the families and the victims of the 9/11 attacks, and also on all those first responders, to these Rotary clubs, to these agencies gathered here today who are committed to helping others in need. And we also, oh God, ask your blessings on our leaders, on our veterans, and our brave servicemen and women and their families, and as well as every citizen within this nation and within the world. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Let us turn to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today, as we mark the anniversary of the September 11th attacks against our nation, the tragedy of that day still brings anger and sadness to many of us. It is a time to remember the over 3,000 men, women, and children that we lost on that horrible day, and the families that were left behind. It is also a chance for us to honor the courage of the first responders who risked their lives on that day and have risked them every day since. It is also a chance for us to honor and give thanks to our men and women in uniform who have served and sacrificed, and those who are still serving, many who are far away from home and suffering the advent of the attacks of the evil enemy. Those still serving also represent protection of our nation and our freedoms that we enjoy as they work to keep us safe. And let us observe at this time a moment of silence in their honor. This anniversary is about them, and it's about the outstanding service organizations, such as the two Rotary clubs meeting jointly here today, and to the partner agencies, the outstanding partner agencies. I should mention first, though, the Rotary motto, service above self, the United Way of Southeast Arkansas, Live United, and the various numerous partner agencies and volunteers that are represented here today, helping people. On that clear September morning of 11th of September 2001, we were beginning our workday. We were suddenly bombarded by breaking news of the Twin Towers falling, the Pentagon burning, and the smoldering wreckage of a plane crashing in a Pennsylvania field. We were filled with emotions, questions, such as who did this? Where did they come from? And why? Why are they attacking us? We were filled with grief and anger that our nation had been attacked. We felt helpless in the beginning. We wondered what would happen next, and how could we, or how would we, as a nation respond. But on that day, Americans from all walks of life came together and remained courageous and strong and helped those who needed help. Now I would like to take a couple of moments to review the sequence of key events that occurred in that just over 4-hour period there on the morning of September 11th, and also talk a little bit about the casualties that resulted from those horrible attacks. And I have some data on those, and I'm sure you remember these. Each and every one of you probably remember what you were doing and where you were during that particular time, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit later. But at 8 o'clock, this is Eastern time, so really it was 7 o'clock here, American Airlines Flight 11, a Boeing 767, with 92 people on board, was taking off from Boston Logan Airport for Los Angeles. And at 8:14, United Airlines Flight 175, a Boeing 767 with 65 people on board, takes off from Boston Logan, headed for Los Angeles also. And at 8:21, American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757 with 64 people on board, takes off from Washington Dulles for Los Angeles. And at 8:40, the Federal Aviation Administration, after realizing something horrible was happening or about to happen, notified the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, about the suspected hijacking of American Flight 11. And at 8:41, United Airlines Flight 93, also a Boeing 757 with 44 people on board, takes off from Newark Airport in New Jersey for San Francisco. And again, a couple of minutes later, FAA notifies NORAD about the hijacking, suspected hijacking of Flight 175, which had taken off from Boston Logan also. And at 8:46, the first flight, American Air Flight 11, crashes into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And at 9:02, Flight 175 crashes into the South Tower. And I know you still see those horrible images. In fact, they were shown this morning on TV again of those events occurring. And at 9:08, the FAA banned all takeoffs nationwide for flights that were either coming out of or going into the Northeast corridor. And they also opened their line of communications with all the other federal agencies, including the military, sharing the data, trying to get a handle on what's going on in our skies. And they banned all takeoffs then, going particularly through the New York corridor, all that area from north of North Carolina through the Northeast and west to Michigan. All of that in that region was banned at that time. And at 9:40 actually, American Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon. And I'll describe a little more about that. And at 9:45, FAA ordered all aircraft to land at the nearest airport as soon as possible. And at 10:07, of course, United Flight 93 was crashing into the field in Stony Creek Township in Pennsylvania. Remember Todd Beamer and the story of his heroism on that flight, because that plane was headed somewhere else, most likely Capitol Hill, the White House somewhere in Washington, D.C. And at 12:15, the airspace over the entire United States, the 48 contiguous states, was clear of all commercial and private flights. Every plane had been grounded. And I remember a lot of conversations on that day and the days to follow. Where were the terrorists coming from? Where are they going to capture and get even small aircraft at these local stations and fly these crop dusters and other planes into buildings? There was a lot of concern and a lot of information and questions ongoing at that time. As we know, the world changed during those 4 hours. Our nation changed, and we know that from the results immediately, the changes that had to be made in our national security, particularly from the air, and the kinds of things that we had to do in the coming weeks in order to restart our commercial and private flight programs. Just a moment about the casualties, and I know you know all of these kinds of things, but I wanted to just pinpoint a few things that I think are important to us as we remember these events. And then I'll get to talking about our anniversary. There were over 3,000, of course, and some put the numbers as high as 3,500 casualties from these terrorist events. 19 of those were terrorists. 4 pilots, this is the way it's been described, 4 pilots and 15 muscle men carried out these attacks. And I'm sure there were other plans that we never learned of publicly. There were 266 people on these 4 planes that crashed. 5 terrorists on the American Airlines Flight 11. 5 on the Flight 175. That American, as you know, the North Tower, and Flight 175 hit the South Tower. Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon. 64, including 5 terrorists, and 125 on the ground in the building. And then, of course, 45, including 4 terrorists on the flight that crashed in Pennsylvania. The World Trade Center, obviously, was the hardest hit, but there was also another business there nearby that suffered like 675 employees from New Jersey, and 344 New York Fire Department and paramedics and first responders, 60 New York City and Port Authority police officers. One of those police officers was killed on the ground by someone leaping out of the top floor of one of the towers and crushed and happened to hit him on the ground. There were the 125 civilians at the Pentagon was the total staff of the Army military personnel program, including a lieutenant general and all of his staff. And they were the only occupants of that particular wedge or section of the Pentagon. It was closed for remodeling that particular section. So the numbers could have been much, much higher had there been that normal 5,000 or 6,000 people in that particular wedge of the Pentagon. And also, while it was mostly Americans, and there were 1,600 people that lost a spouse or a partner, and more than 3,000 children lost their parents, a parent or parents. And like I said, while it was mostly Americans, there were 327 foreign nationals representing 53 other countries within our nation. So those are just a few of the statistics of the personal impacts of that. But of course, we know that the wounds went much deeper than that. And I'm sure you all, as I said earlier, vividly remember what you were doing when that breaking news began and the tragic events unfolded right before our eyes on TV. I certainly remember it. Fortunately, I just called Diane, my wife, just a few minutes before all of this broke, and we were talking about the day. She was here in Pine Bluff, and I was in Washington, and at that morning, I was at Aberdeen Proving Ground at a meeting and planning to go back to the Pentagon for a meeting around noontime, and obviously we canceled that meeting, and in fact, my complete staff, they were concerned, and some of them were in California, some were in the state of Washington, some were in the Southeast, in Atlanta, and in Florida. They had to rent cars or keep the rental car they had where they were and drive those back to Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, in order to get home. Some of them, it took them 2, 3, 4, 5 days to get back to their families. Their families were concerned about them. We were all concerned about our families and about other people. As I said, Diane knew I was not where I was supposed to be that day and that I was safe. When people were calling her and saying, "Where's Jim?" and "Was he in the Pentagon today?" and so forth. And she was able to say, "No, he's okay." But I'll tell you what, as I said earlier, the world changed. And we immediately began working 24/7 to assure that we were taking care of, in my case, the chemical weapons that we had stored and were destroying for the United States. And all of the security measures were heightened immediately, as you know, even here. And I know that was your anniversary for kickoff of the 2001 campaign. And I'm sure that was caused some concern too. I just finished, not only me, but I'm sorry. Get this microphone straight now. Myself, as well as a small group of guys, we're in a little Bible study and been studying the Harbinger. I don't know whether many of you have heard of that book yet or not, but it's an ancient mystery that holds the secret of America's future, it says. But anyway, the 9/11 events are mentioned in this book as a harbinger of things to come, and how our wall of protection was broken down on 2011 by these terrorists. And it relates to Isaiah 9:10. You know, many of you know I'm a pastor and preacher, so I'm naturally going to mention things like that from time to time. But it's Isaiah 9:10, the verses in there, and you can check your Bible later, or you can check this book. It's written by a Messianic Jew, which means really a Jewish Christian, in New Jersey, Jonathan Cahn. A lot of facts in there relating us to ancient Israel. I know it's happening in this country, but all of that goes to say that we should be so thankful for what we have and what we're doing. There were some things that I discovered in reading about 9/11 and about Ground Zero. In the corner of Ground Zero, that area, stands St. Paul's Chapel, a small church. And if I ever knew this, I'd forgotten it. And I wasn't a history major, but I had forgotten this if I knew it. I knew George Washington was our first president. But he addressed his first joint session. He was inaugurated in New York City, which was the first capital of our nation. And they all went to St. Paul's Chapel, where he, in Freedom Hall, addressed the first session of Congress, and all the cabinet was there. And at the end of that session, they all prayed together and consecrated our nation to God. Also, there was a sycamore tree that was uprooted in this wreckage from the towers of 9/11. Sycamore growing in New York City, that's a little far north, but it was a kind of sycamore tree, according to this book. And according to this book, in Isaiah 9:10, the sycamores will be replaced with cedars. But they have reestablished that tree, I think, at Ground Zero, along with the other reconstruction that is being done there. There was something else, and I saw a photograph of beautifully formed cross of wide beams from the falling of the towers. There was two pieces that fell, and they aligned perfectly for a cross. Interesting little tidbits, but that was a perfect cross form. But today we honor the memory of those we lost by giving back to our communities, serving those in need, and reaffirming the values that are the core of who we are, both as a people and also as a community. That's why we remember September 11th as a day of remembrance and service of helping others in our community. So on this solemn anniversary, let us remember those we lost, reaffirming those values, and let us move forward as one nation under God and one people living united. Thank you.
O.C. Harbor was a native of Ohio that moved to Pine Bluff in 1912. Mr. Harbor was a faithful member of the Rotary Club of Pine Bluff from 1918 until his death in 1970. Mr. Harbor led the charge to organize the community chest. The community chest disappeared with the onset of the Great Depression. In the late fall of 1946, it was reorganized in Jefferson County. In 1964, the name was changed to the United Fund, and then in 1971 changed to the United Way of Jefferson County. And in 1990, the United Way of Southeast Arkansas was born. People of Southeast Arkansas continue to set an example for all to follow as they continuously give their hearts to those in need. Welcome as we begin the United Way of Southeast Arkansas's 2012 campaign. Larry Fugate, President of the Rotary Club of Pine Bluff, West Rotary Club of Pine Bluff, has some introductions.
Thank you, Leslie. I learned after returning to Pine Bluff in 2005 that Jim Bacon's a smart man, so when he stands up to speak, I listen. And what he did was reaffirm an earlier decision I made that there was no good reason to get on a plane and fly to Los Angeles. I'd like to ask all visiting Rotarians present today to stand. All visiting Rotarians. Okay. Have a couple of announcements. This is housekeeping for the West Pine Bluff Club, and you can accept this as an invitation to attend if you'd like. Our program Thursday will be the Jefferson County Drug Court. And we have a casual event planned Saturday morning if you're not busy. I would not advise that you wear flip-flops, but some heavy-duty shoes and bring some gloves, because we're going to pick up litter and trash along Cherry from the west side of Pine Bluff National Bank to Martha Mitchell Expressway. So if you want some exercise bending over, picking up pieces of glass and other forms of litter, you're welcome to join us. This time I have the opportunity to introduce Janice Acosta, President of the United Way of Southeast Arkansas. And she has some fans, I know. One man was bragging one day that he knew her. She was managing his money, his retirement money. And I know how tight the fellow is with the buck, so that speaks well of Janice.
Thank you. Welcome, and thank you to the Rotaries for allowing us to come and join with your luncheon today. Mr. Bacon, thank you for that heartwarming memorial that you did. We're happy that you came out today for the United Way annual campaign kickoff. You, the volunteers, the organizations that are represented here, you guys are the ones that make this such a dynamic organization, and you're the ones that make the campaign successful. Before I turn the podium over for the main event, there are a few groups that we would like to thank today. As I call your group, would you please stand so that you may be recognized? First and foremost, we would like to say thank you to the United Way staff. You guys are the ones that are the glue to keep us all together. So if the United Way staff would please stand. Second, the ones that keep the agencies going. Would all the staff of the partner agencies please stand? And then, if you are a board member of these partner agencies, would you please stand? I told you everyone in this room had a same goal here. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the 2012 campaign chair, which many of you, I'm sure, already know. With her bubbly personality and her charming smile, I am confident that she will lead us to our goal this year. She is the Dean of the School of Business and Management, and she is our Fall 2012 campaign chair, Carla Martin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so very grateful for the opportunity and humbled by the opportunity to serve as this year's campaign chair. I know that I stand on the shoulders of many great individuals who have stood in this very position. Individuals like Scott Patillo, individuals like Lee Hardman, individuals like Julie Bridgeforth, Mr. J. Tommy May, and Mr. Chuck Morgan. These individuals have consistently raised the bar, and this year we're going to do the same thing. And I know that with the help of each one of you sitting in this room, we are going to surpass that bar like never before. But I know that it takes a team to get it done. And this year we have one heck of a team that is getting ready to come as our starting lineup. Now, I have never coached, I've never played, had dreams and aspirations of doing both, but it just didn't happen. But I do know that there is this one man, Michael Buffer, whose voice can motivate and inspire and get you ready for whatever the sporting event may be. Well, this is our sporting event. And I'm no Michael Buffer, but I'm here to announce our starting lineup. This year, our starting lineup, to keep the momentum going from last year's fabulous campaign, is our lone executive chair, Mr. Scott Patillo. Would you please stand? Scott has a group of several lone executives that are working with him. So if we have any lone executives present today, if you would please stand and be acknowledged. Thank you very much for doing that and giving of your time. We also appreciate your employers for supporting the United Way campaign. Your presence and participation is vital in our success. We have a group called the Pillars. The Pillars this year is being led by Mac Bellingrath. Is Mac here? All right, thank you so much for doing that, Mac. The Pillars program has 5 particular categories. The bronze category consists of individuals who have given $500 to $999. Silver, donors who have given $1,000 to $1,999. Gold, $1,500 let me do that again. Silver, $1,000 to $1,499. Gold, $1,500 to $1,999. Platinum, which is $2,000 to $2,499. And the diamond pillar level of $2,500 and up. I challenge each one of you in this room to give at the diamond level, $2,500 and up. My favorite book says, you ask not because you have not. So I have just asked, and I'm hoping that you will rise to the occasion. Last year, there were 518 people who gave at the pillar level. And again, that's people who gave $500 and more. There are about 200 seats in this room. And if everybody who's occupying a seat will give at $3,000, nothing major, $3,000, then we will be halfway at our goal. And that is very, very doable. Next, we have group chairs. We have 4 groups in the United Way. Group 1 is being led by Andy Lunsford of Lunsford and Associates. Andy, would you please stand? Knowing Andy, he is hard at work in the community. Group 2 is being led by the fabulous Amy Johnson of Simmons First National Bank. Amy, would you stand? Group 3 is being led by Julie Bridgeforth of Jefferson Regional Medical Center. This lady has tons of energy. And Group 4 is being led by Lee Hartman of the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. So Andy, Amy, Julie, and Lee have individuals who are supporting them in their efforts, whether they are a division chair, a section chair, an account solicitor, or an employee campaign coordinator. No matter what your title, if you are working with the 2012-2013 United Way campaign, would you please stand so we can appreciate you? So you've heard several people talk about the agency and how our agencies rise to the occasion time and time again to meet the needs of those in our community. Truth be told, the United Way in and of itself has no needs. Partner agencies in and of themselves have no needs. But the truth is, people have the needs, and it's our agencies with the solutions. So my second challenge to you, aside from the 3,000 that I gave to you earlier, my second challenge to you is to continue to be a part of the solution. So many of you are not strangers to giving to the campaign. I ask that you continue to do so, and if you know of someone who is a stranger, invite them to participate in this year's campaign, because your one contribution equals countless results. I know it, and you know it too. So there is a gentleman who is probably as freewheeling and fun-loving as I am, who is brave enough to step up and agree to being the 2013 chairperson. Mr. Stephen Brown of Pine Bluff National Bank is going to take the podium and share with you some exciting information. And Stephen, I promise you, what I learned this year, I will share with you. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Not only did she set the bar high, she set the microphone high. I'm here today to introduce the Communications Committee. Now, I don't know if y'all all know what that consists of, but Stephen Lassane with Simmons, let me introduce Stephen. Stephen is the chairman of the Communications Committee, and the Communications Committee puts together our campaign materials as you have on your table, as well as put together the campaign video. Now, I also want to give a very special thanks to Leonard Chambly, who is a videographer with Creative Motion Media. Leonard, will you? Leonard has been putting this video together for us for quite some time, and as most of you know, does a very, very good job. I also want to recognize Richard Reedus with UAPB. I don't know if he's in the back. Richard is here with our audio-visual equipment. Give a special thanks to Richard. Now, before I actually start the video, couple comments I want to make. Most of you know Carla not only participates in a lot of community activities, Carla performs at the Arts and Science Center. And I want to make sure that Stephen and Richard understand, and as you'll see in a minute, she has a clip in the video of her showing that. I want to make sure y'all know that next year's campaign chair is not going to wear a wig and sing. Okay, here's the, if y'all would, be patient with us. The video's not very long, but I think you'll enjoy it.
You know, I'm homegrown, just like this tomato, raised in Southeast Arkansas. And I volunteer with the United Way because we believe in uniting and strengthening this fabulous community. Here in Pine Bluff, anybody can be a star, including me. But the real stars are here at Greenville Elementary School with the Volunteers in Public Schools, a United Way partner agency. These individuals give of their time, effort, and energy to mentor and tutor young students, and it really makes a difference in their lives.
When you volunteer, it is hard to imagine that you are giving more than you are receiving. And I think that Greenville Elementary made it very, very easy for me to volunteer.
Volunteers in Public Schools, the mission is to enhance the learning experiences of the students in the Pine Bluff District.
Whatever the teacher needs as far as getting things done through the like laminate materials, getting booklets made for the students to use in the classrooms, they can directly go to the VIP's office and get that done quickly.
Anything that the administrators or teachers call upon us to do, we're available.
Sometimes the problem seems so big that we almost become immobilized. We don't do anything because we don't think we can make a difference. And I'm not fooling myself. I don't think any one of us can change the world. And I don't think that's expected of us. I think what is expected of us is to make a difference where we are. We can either be a stepping stone or a stumbling block.
My volunteer came in every Thursday and she worked with the children on their spelling words and vocabulary words, which they were going to be tested on the next day. Parents love their children, but they don't always have the time in the evenings. When they get home from work, they're tired. They have things that they have to do. I know, I'm a parent. So just having that someone to even just call out the words and let them spell the words for them is just wonderful.
Volunteers are the most wonderful people on the face of the earth. They give their time. I know that they don't have to do what we call upon them to do, so I am so grateful and thankful.
I am a first-hand witness to let you know that the public schools have challenges, no doubt about it. We all have challenges. In America, we have challenges. In all of our homes, we have challenges. But in Greenville Elementary School, the children here, the students here are happy, they are loving.
Ms. Mauser came to our class in August as a volunteer to help us with our work assignments.
She makes a difference, and I appreciate what she does.
I know this made a difference in their grades because the assistance that she gave them, especially with the vocabulary and spelling, really helped them pass the test the next day.
It's gone very, very well. I will be back in Miss Glover's 5th grade class if they allow me this next year.
When I was in high school, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, a United Way partner agency. The staff at this agency creates a family-like environment for the young people who come here for tutoring and for after-school programs. We're still in the business of creating outstanding young adults like Tavia and Rebecca.
I have been attending the Boys and Girls Club of Jefferson County since the age of 4. Being around so many different personalities, a great staff, has taught me to be an outgoing person, a great leader, and an outstanding student. When I needed help with a certain assignment, I knew I could count on the staff to help me. Being there has made me the person I am today. I have become a great speaker and motivator. I plan on taking these lessons with me in life as I finish my senior year of high school.
When you grow up in the Boys and Girls Club, you have security. I never had to worry about where I was going after school or if I was going to have friends. At the Boys and Girls Club, we are our family. I could tell that every day it was their mission to make me smile, build my character, and make me smarter. Every day of my life, I realized that without the Boys and Girls Club, I would not be the person that I am today.
The Bradshaw Senior Center of the Area Agency on Aging provides food, fun, and fellowship, all for the young at heart.
We rock around here at the Bradshaw Center. We are always, as you can see, working out. We have exercise classes and all kinds of things to stimulate your mind, body, you name it, we got it. This center brings people together. It brings people of all ages to come out together and visit with each other and get in touch with old friends. A lot of them knew each other from before but lost touch. And then whenever they started coming up here, they, developed friendships again. And, it's just, you can see it's a great place for everybody. It's like a family reunion every day. If you're thinking about donating to United Way, you need to come and visit some of these places that the United Way supports. Come and visit our center and see what this place does for these seniors. It's amazing how much difference it makes in their lives.
It touches my heart when I go out and speak to people about United Way and what they can do, whether it's $1, whatever you can afford to do. I encourage each person to give to United Way because it makes a difference in so many lives.
Everyone has a part to play in making our community stronger. So join me and let's partner with the United Way of Southeast Arkansas to make sure that our friends and neighbors have exactly what they need. Stand with me and be counted. Now is your time to shine. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Jenkins Choir doesn't make you want to write that $3,000 check, I don't know what we are going to have to do this year. You appreciated them already, but I know in my heart the right thing to do is to appreciate them again and to acknowledge their directress, Mrs. Janice Wilkes, and their pianist, Mrs. Sue Cox. So this is the United Way campaign kickoff, but if there is anything that I have learned already, Stephen, do not miss the first communications meeting. Be there or you will end up there. So, piece of advice number one. Before I turn you back over to Leslie, I want to take an opportunity to thank Mr. Caldwell, to thank Ms. Joy Benz, Mrs. Leslie Dorn, and Mrs. Karen Small. And they have been thanked before, but I know firsthand how hard they work for the United Way and each year for the United Way campaign. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for everything that you do. To the Rotary Clubs of Pine Bluff, thank you for allowing us to take over your meeting. We appreciate that. And to all of our guests, thank you for being here, and we appreciate your support. I can't say it any better than the Jenkins Choir did. United we stand, and divided we fall. Thank you so much for your time and your consideration.
Carla is a fellow Rotarian of the Pine Bluff Rotary Club, and a few weeks ago, Carla asked me, Leslie, is it true blondes have more fun? I said, Carla, I don't know. I've always been a blonde. So did you have more fun? It's true. Carla showed the true Rotarian motto when she put that blonde wig on, service above self. Thank you for coming today. On behalf of the West Rotary Club and Pine Bluff Rotary Club, you're more than welcome to join us at any time. We meet on Tuesdays, just like today, at the Country Club from noon to 1, and West Rotary meets on Thursdays from noon to 1. Thank you again for coming today.